I want to talk to you. Dr. Frazier and I, we got together earlier. I think it was last spring, actually. We got together and we started talking about this week. And I just kind of put out the idea. I said, I'd like to do it earlier in the year than waiting till a third of the year has passed and talking about these issues, because some of these issues you might be struggling with. Well, the truth of the matter is, as I begin to dig into what we're going to talk about this week, if statistics are correct, what I'm going to talk to you about today and what we're going to talk about this week is something that a good number of you are experiencing, okay? And we'll look at some statistics and we'll talk about some things as we go along. Really today I'm just going to highlight some things about anxiety. I'll talk to you about some triggers to anxiety that are out there, and then on Wednesday, Dr. Frazier is going to talk to you about some things that you can do that will hopefully help you work through these types of things, okay? So let's move along. I'm going to try to stay right here and not go far from here. I was going to say move the slide, but I forgot I have this thing in my hand and I can move the slide. At least I think I can. Let's try it. Go. Didn't work, Brother Crater. They didn't listen. There we go. Nope, that's not where I wanted to go. Yes, that's where I want to go. That's exactly where I want to go. So, when you hear about college, it sounds exciting, doesn't it? I mean, like, you're finishing up your last year of high school. Now, some of you came to college and you had half of your college done by the time you came here your first year. Congratulations to you. You're the unique one, a good one. When I say unique, don't take that wrongly. But it's an exciting time. Like you're getting out from high school, and maybe you're leaving home, and you're some excited about that. You're going to be around your friends. The first week seems like youth camp. Second week seems like an extended part of youth camp. And then suddenly about the third or fourth week, maybe about the fifth, reality hits you and you got schoolwork to do. You're like, oh, that's a part of why I'm here. And by that time, Dr. Brown or whoever else might be, your teacher's asking you, are you going to turn in any work? And suddenly you pull up the assignments and you look at the rubrics and you go, if I could be back in high school and not have to deal with all this stuff. You felt overwhelmed. Now, anxiety, just in case you want to note this, anxiety is one of the most prevalent mental health issues that are plaguing our college students today. I would reckon that you've experienced some type of anxiety since the school year started. If you haven't, don't worry. At the end of this time, there's a big quiz, and it'll depend on whether you get done with this semester and pass all your classes or not. Like if that was serious, I could create anxiety in you. Like, you're not going to be able to eat this week if you can't answer all the questions. You're going to get anxious. Like, we're all going to face those kind of things in our lives, and especially in college. And if you feel that way this morning, I want you to know you're not alone. You're not alone in this battle. Now I'm going to try to show you all some cool statistics if I can. I'm going to learn this thing about the time I'm done. See, look at that. Is that how long of a delay there is? Oh, okay. Jacob, why are you calling me? No, it's not Jacob calling me, someone else. And I have ADD, and when my phone rings, I'm glad I wasn't preaching in chapel. That would have been bad. So what you see on the screen behind me, hopefully you can see it clearly. If not, I can share these slides to you at a different time. But what statistics are showing us now is 20% of you all came into college with a diagnosable disorder called generalized anxiety disorder. 40% of you all came into college with that. That's statistics from last year measuring college students across America. That's statistics. What you're seeing on your left is some statistics from 2010. In 2010, if you had came to college, about 5.8% of the male population would have had a diagnosable disorder, and right around 20% of the female population would have had a disorder. So in 14 years, amongst the male population, there's been a 238% increase in anxiety, and amongst female population, over a 250% increase in anxiety. That, my friends, that is not sustainable. If those numbers continue to climb in the direction they have been climbing the last 14 years, it's going to be worse than COVID. Okay, I wanted to get your attention. So 4 in 10. So if we were just to look at general statistics, we could say in a crowd like this, 4 out of 10 are experiencing this kind of issue. If I were to look at the total student population, and I looked up GBS's student population, that's not everybody who's on campus, but I looked up the population, I looked at the demographics of male versus female, and if I would look at and just put the 2010 estimates, there would have been about 23 students on GBS campus who were dealing with anxiety, a diagnosable disorder of anxiety. If we were to take the same number that's increased today, there would be over 140 students walking on our campus with a diagnosable disorder around anxiety. That's a problem. That's a problem because as we go along, I'm going to show you what that does. That impacts a whole lot of one's life. Fact of the matter, if you're a teacher in here this morning, it impacts their interaction with you. And you need to be aware of that if you're a teacher this morning, that your position alone is one that creates anxiety, and you have a task to this generation to try to decrease that. And the fact of the matter is, if you'll dig into this, there are ways that you can decrease that by creating greater interaction in your classroom, that's student interaction rather than you dictating everything that happens in the classroom. Okay. So let's look at a couple things. Let's move along here. Let's go to the next slide. I think I really covered that already. Let's go to the next slide. There we go. So we're going to look at what are the most common diagnosable anxiety disorders that someone may have. Generalized anxiety is marked by the things that you can see, and I hope that you can see these on the board. I'm not sure if you can. It looks like I can see them from here. And I mentioned a few things that you want to pay attention to. Generalized anxiety has a certain criteria that if met, you can be diagnosed with that. Social anxiety disorder is another common thing that is not nearly as common as generalized anxiety disorder, but it's common, and it deals with more social anxiety. And can you imagine if you're a student who has a social anxiety disorder, and you're sitting in class, what it feels like if the teacher calls out your name? Can you imagine the thoughts that some of you know, because you've experienced this, but if you were a teacher, can you imagine the thoughts that are going to be rolling through your mind in that moment? You say, well, that's just part of education. That's part of the problem, is people like you thinking it doesn't matter. It does matter. If we're talking about the well-being of our students and their health, and them to go out and serve God at their greatest capacity, it does matter. It does matter. It matters a lot. So we can move past these two main diagnosable disorders. There are several others, and talk about some of the other factors that you may be experiencing. There's things like, as I was reading through literature that came up, very common literature, test anxiety. I was like, test anxiety? Oh, I know what that is. I remember, I'll tell you a story. I remember I was going to pursue my PhD, and I was like, okay, I can do this. And I told myself, I'm going to find the university that doesn't require any more tests in class. And so I asked around, and I found out that pretty much speaking in the counseling, education, supervision field, all the tests that you ever really have to get involved with is mostly at the master's level. And I was like, good. And I got into my first class, and it was a quantitative class, and the professor went over the syllabus, and she said, there's going to be 2 large quizzes in this class, and if you don't pass these quizzes, you probably won't pass this class. Ooh, my heart rate went up. I mean, I could feel the tension, and I could feel the worry already starting creeping in. It was probably 8 weeks before I would take that first test, and I'm telling you, I began to dread that week. I knew it was coming up. I was counting down the days. I was saying, Lord, I don't know why you called me to pursue a PhD. You know I don't like taking tests, and I forget things that I've studied, and I can't bring up things that I studied hours for, and I know that when I get to this test, my mind's going to go blank, and I'm going to fail. Well, I did pass those tests. Thank the Lord. But I'm telling you, the teacher could have helped me out a whole lot if they would have said, we'll give you a study guide. She was like, no study guides. You shouldn't just know the material. I'm like, just know the material. What's that like? Just know. You've been teaching this class for 30 years. You know the material. I've been in here for 3 weeks. How am I supposed to know what you know? You know, that's what I wanted to say. And that's what it was producing. And some of you know exactly what I meant. A couple of weeks ago, I asked my students in one of my classes, so how can I help you? If this test is difficult, how can I help you? I'm not going to not let you take the test, but how can I help you? Because I feel like we have a responsibility. I'm talking to educators here. We have a responsibility produce an atmosphere that's the best atmosphere for learning possible. And I can make adjustments. It doesn't have to be my way. I want you to succeed, right? So there's test anxiety. How about financial anxiety? Anybody sat in the business office over there at the beginning of the year and you looked at your bill and you said, glory? I mean, you felt so excited. You're like, oh, look, that's just going to drain just a little bit out of my bank account. How many felt that way? You must have had a lot of money in your bank account. He didn't hear me. Or his parents paid his bill. No, I don't know. But think about this. You sat in that business office and you saw that large bill and you thought, how am I going to pay this? You felt really anxious about this because if you were a new student coming to GBS, you thought, well, I don't even have a job yet. I mean, I don't even know where Chick-fil-A's at yet. I mean, you got to know where Chick-fil-A is at when you move into the area, right? I can tell you where it's at least the one that I like to go to because I have family that works there and I get good deals. And so you faced all those things not only do I have to go to class and deal with all the syllabuses and read all those and try to figure that all out and worry about academics, but I also got to worry, how am I going to pay my school bill? And for some of you, to be frank, that's flatly overwhelming. I remember when I went to Bible college, my parents told me, that's nice that you're called to preach. We don't have money and we're not going to be able to pay your bill. If you're going to go to Bible college, you're going to have to work and pay your way through Bible college. And I did. Worked 40 hours a week, 15, 16, 18, probably 15 or 18 credit hours most semesters, and passed. I did it. You can do it too. And I remember feeling those feelings. Listen, that's a reality. There's some of you now that you're getting closer to the end of your time here at God's Bible School. You're dealing with this number 3, future-oriented anxiety. You're like, what am I going to do about my future? Where am I going to go? Where is God going to send me? What value am I going to be able to add into this world that I'm in? Some of you are interested in teaching. You're like, where am I going to teach? Who would be interested in my gift set? Will anybody be interested in my gift set? If you tend to be an anxious person, you might even say something like this. Nobody will be interested in me. There's so many other people in my graduating class that are better than I. I'm probably down at the bottom of the list. I probably won't even be considered. That's future. Then there's this technology-related anxiety that is really cranked up amongst your generation. It's called fear of missing out. FOMO is what we call it. And it's a real deal. I guarantee you, before this day is over, most of you will have touched your phone over 1,000 times. Checking out stuff. That's the average. The average person touches their cell phone 1,000 times a day. I mean, Jacob's already touched his at least once in here. I know for a fact because it rang. I think he ducked down in his seat and even answered it. Did you? Caught you. Like, some of you have been texting even in here. Some of you have already been on social media making sure you didn't miss anything in the last 30 minutes. Right? Let's be honest with ourselves today, right? Like, some of you have been checking out Fox News or whatever news you want to know what's going on. You want to make sure nothing new's happening. You're checking out Instagram and TikTok and whatever else you do in chapel. Like, because if you don't, you might miss something important. At least it feels that way. If we made you leave your phones outside here, it'd be a catastrophe in here. You wouldn't, and I wouldn't as well. We wouldn't know how to survive. Like, have you ever tried to leave your cell phone home for a day? One day I did. I was thankful I had an Apple Watch that was a cellular watch. It's like, I don't have to go back down that hill and these stairs, and I can just answer it on my watch. Thankfully, no one called. I can't read the news on this either, that was okay because I had my computer in my office and I could check out the news there. Let's go to the next slide, please. So why are college students so vulnerable to these things? Well, the college years, first of all, I want you to note are major developmental years, and you that are in my human development class or lifespan development, you know where I'm going with this. Like, most developmental models would say that you, unless you are in the upper ends towards graduating, that you're in a developmental stage where you're moving from adolescence into early adulthood. And that's a great time of transitioning, but it's also a time of anxiety. Like, who am I going to become? You know, it used to be that when you went to college, you had to know what you were going to college for. Like, if I asked you that were freshmen, do you know specifically why you're here? You may not be able to tell me why. Well, I just feel like I need to be at Bible college. I don't know what God's calling me to. But somewhere in this process, that's going to change. That's part of that identity formation. I feel like maybe God is calling me to be a teacher now. I'm in my second year, and I'm feeling more clear. This is direction. This is the gift set that God has given to me, and thank God for that, right? Your independence starts growing. You move away from mom and dad. Mom and dad cry, and you cry. Well, I hope. Not tears of sadness like, oh, they're leaving, or I'm leaving. Like, tears like, I'm leaving everything I've known. And a good environment. I pray that would be the case for you. You cross over into this new space and they say, hey, you got a class at 7:30. If you're there, you're there. If you're not, you're not. Dr. Loper's not going to text you and ask you where you're at. You don't show up. You don't show up. And because you don't have discipline, or if you don't have discipline, you don't show up, and you end up failing a class or two. Like, have I ever failed a class for not showing up? Yes. But that was 30 years ago. I showed up to every class for my master's degree and PhD that I was supposed to. Thank you very much. You got deadlines, like, these teachers, oh, bless their hearts. They give you a syllabus, and it almost appears as if the syllabus doesn't have any dates in it, due dates. Because for some reason, we wake up the week the assignment's due, and Buzz notifies us that something's due that week, and we go, oh no, how did that get here? Like, we don't know how it happened. And for a moment, we get this terrible feeling of anxiety, and now we realize, oh my, if I'd have been more disciplined, I wouldn't be trying to write an 8-page paper all night long. I would have worked on this the last number of weeks so that I wouldn't feel this way. One of the greatest producers of anxiety is procrastination. The longer you procrastinate things here, the greater your anxiety levels will grow. And I would reckon probably the more you procrastinate, the lower your grade goes too. I would say there's a correlation. I don't know if there's any studies out there that suggest that. I'm pretty sure that seems to make sense to me, because the more rushed you are, the less focused you are on the topic, and the less you're refined in working through it. You start navigating new circles. Like, look, 5 years ago, if you look around here, there's a lot of people that you know right now that you didn't know 5 years ago. While you're sitting next to someone that, most likely you're sitting next to someone that 5 years ago you didn't even know their first name. And you came to Bible college and you got on campus and you looked around and you said to yourself, I know them and them and them and them. And mom and dad are leaving. And I'm going to have to make friends and I don't know how. How do I make friends? I have people ask me that in my office all the time. How do I make friends? Like, I don't know. I really don't know. You just got to be friendly, I guess. And then you get into this environment and all of a sudden, like it or not, your teacher judges you by how well you do in your class. Like, the end of the semester, you know if you're a good student or not. You look and you say, oh, F. I think that means failure. And some people internalize that, right? And that creates a problem. Or all of a sudden you're in this environment where you feel like everything you do, somebody's watching you to critique you and to tell you how to do something better. Boy, that can, if you come from an environment where performance was important, or you tend to be perfectionistic, you're really going to struggle with anxiety. Like every time you turn in a paper, you find yourself turning in the paper, and every 30 minutes you're checking your email to see if the teacher's graded it yet. Because you're like, boy, I think I did poorly, and you're anxious, you're checking your emails to see if there's a buzz update. Yes, my grade has come in. Say, boy, you must grade your papers. If my student, I try to grade papers as fast as I can, because it's less work for me if I let it build up. Like if I see 5 things that need graded when I open Buzz, I guarantee you I'm going to grade them right now. I'm not going to wait till the end of the week, because there'll be 10. That means I have twice the amount of work to do on Friday that I don't want to do. So if you're in my class, you're going to get your grades early. Let's move to the next slide. I tried to ask AI, I said, AI, can you produce? I said, I need pictures of a female and a male that I had to give them the whole CHM definition of what I needed. So they came out all right. They look like holiness kids, except they're worried. So what's another thing? Well, let's talk about this, right? Let's talk about, and I think I skipped over something in my last one, but we'll move on. Let's talk about poor sleep quality. Do you know that if you go 2 weeks without more than 6 hours of sleep a night, that it's the same thing as staying up 2 days straight without sleep for your body? And I guarantee you, most of you are not averaging over 6 hours a night. I guess we don't like to babysit. I don't think we should babysit. But it's about this point that I advocate for you to be in your room by midnight and not be hanging out with the rest of your friends. You're solving problems after midnight that have nothing to do with your overall well-being. Get to sleep. You will do better in school. You will do better in your personal relationships with your friends around you if you will say, at midnight, I'm done, I'm going to bed. Good admonition, Miss Loper. Except none of you are doing that, except for very few of you. And you're wondering why you're cruising down towards the end of the semester and you're feeling this overwhelming anxiety. It's because you're not sleeping like you should. Studies indicate that your age group needs a minimum 8 hours of sleep a night. You say, but the atmosphere of college life doesn't allow me to do this. Listen, I earned a PhD, and I can tell you I never one time stayed up past 10 o'clock at night and never started working on my PhD work before 5 o'clock in the morning. And I never one time in my graduate studies ever did any schoolwork on Sunday. It's about how you prioritize your time. You can get the sleep you need if you have discipline to do the things you need to do. And you say, well, why do I need to be disciplined now? I'll wait till I get older. If you don't start now, you won't do it when you're older, right? I hate my alarm clock, and if I can get up before it, it's great. It's a great day. It's a great day. So get some sleep. Get some good sleep. Let's talk about social media usage. Let's talk about what happens with social media usage, right? So social media amplifies comparison. Like, you think about this. When you are posting on Instagram or whatever, I don't know if it's posting or whatever, you're doing your TikTok thing, like, your Be Real, whatever it is, like. I guess I should have Drew come up here and help me out with this. He knows what's in. I don't. Maybe he doesn't know what's in. He doesn't look like a technology user. He looks like a guy that likes to work hard. Okay. I guarantee you've not waited to the worst moment of your day to do that. Like, how many of you wake up and the first thing in the morning you're like, check me out, man. My breath stinks. My hair's a mess. I look terrible, but I just wanted to show you all how terrible I look when I wake up. Like, girls, ladies, I should say, you don't show your boyfriend the wake up pictures yet. You send him the glamorous ones, like your hair's done, you boys do this, you young men do the same thing. And we live in this world of social media where what we're putting on social media is glamour. Right? And so if everybody else is putting glamour and you're trying to compare yourself to what everyone else does, you consistently come under what you think you should be. And you come really harsh on yourself when you're looking at social media and other means to compare who you are. Like, if you really are defined by what you see on social media, we're all in trouble. I mean, we're in big trouble. And think about it. The truth of the matter is that the statistics say that your age group is spending an average of 8 hours a day on social media. 8 hours a day. That's a third of your day that statistics say you're spending time on social media. I know that's not all at once, but if you started adding how many times you get up on social media, how many times you check out your social media, start adding it up, you'd be alarmed at how often you're on there. And that's really what's happening. You're catching up on all the information, and your brain is processing what you're seeing, and then you're comparing your life to what you're processing, and things just don't align. And so what that does is it creates a whole lot of, I'm not good enough. Or a whole lot of striving, trying to be something you were never meant to be. Some of you would probably do a lot better related to anxiety if you would go on a social media fast. Like, I'm disconnecting for a week. If you would try it, the first couple of days would be miserable, like going on a no sugar diet. But if you would do it and be disciplined enough to stay for a week, you would start feeling better. You'd start sleeping better. You'd start doing better in class. Your interactions with fellow students would get better. Your life in general would be so much better if you would just cut it out. And it's very likely that somebody in here needs to do that for their well-being. How many times have you went back and changed a post because you didn't like the way it looked? How many times have you went and edited things because You were afraid of how it would be perceived. Trying your best to be something that you weren't called to be. Since I've already went to a spot where I know you're living, let me go to one more spot. What about your caffeine usage? Studies have shown that heavy caffeine usage also induces anxiety. Listen, if there has been this massive increase in 14 years, we have to, as a researcher, I like to be a researcher. I'm a researcher. I love researching. I love the science of what I do. And so I'm confronted with this question, and I haven't done the work on this yet. I'm hoping to do it someday. So if that number has increased so drastically in 14 years, why? Well, some of the things I found were social media, sleep quality, I talked about that, and caffeine usage. But there has to be somebody might say something like, well, it's COVID. Listen, it wasn't just COVID that spiked anxiety. Research has very clearly showed that it increased it very slightly. Very slightly. So this massive increase, we've got to find out what's going on, and we've got to bring an answer to it, because if we don't and this problem gets worse and worse, we're going to live in a world full of terrible anxiety. I mean, like, I ask clients from time to time, what's your anxiety like on a scale of 0 to 10? 10 being horrible and 0 being not bad at all. And I have clients who will say, oh, it's about a 7 or 8. And I say something like this. And if you had to live with anxiety and you could pick any number that you could live with, what would you pick? And I've consistently had clients tell me, I'd be okay with 5. Hey, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not okay with 0. I'm not okay with 1. I'm wired way differently than most people. Like, I promise you, like if I go down to my house tonight at 9 o'clock, yes, 9 o'clock, and I go to bed at 9 o'clock, I'm going to be asleep at 9:05, sound asleep. I mean, like, you could come in and bang on the wall and I'm asleep, and I'm not going to wake up. Like, I could have to defend my dissertation tomorrow, and I don't thank the Lord, and I'd be asleep. I have found very little in my life keeps me awake. That's a blessing, right? And I'm thankful for that. We've got to find ways to decrease this, is what I'm telling you. We've got to decrease our screen time. Is one thing I want to point out to you. Decrease your screen time. Disconnect from social media. Disconnect from the news cycle, and you will find yourself doing better. Now, I wanted to get back to caffeine drinks. Like, most of us are consuming over 400 milligrams of caffeine a day, and anything above 400 has been shown to increase anxiety by 2 times. Like, if you're drinking more than 8 ounces of coffee a day, you're drinking enough that you're 2 times more likely to have high levels of anxiety. And think of this, the average student in college life, this was a study done just last year at Liberty University, they found out that the average student spends 5 to 6 nights during every semester awake all night long doing schoolwork. I can't figure it out why. I mean, I can never figure out. If I had to pull an all-nighter, you wouldn't want to see me the next day. And you wouldn't want to see my work. It'd be horrendous, right? And when they're doing this, they're consuming 2 or 3 or more of things like Red Bull. And I saw this in chapel until Friday. I watch these dudes over here drinking energy drinks, and I'm like, you guys are crazy. If you go to bed on time, you don't have to drink energy drinks. If you prioritize your time, you don't have to drink energy drinks. Like, you have a cup of coffee the day I did. I don't even know why I did, other than my hands were cold and I wanted to get warmed up. Like, if I have coffee, good. If not, who cares? 2 cups a day. I like to drink coffee before I go to bed. I sleep better. I'm wired differently. right? So, the truth is this morning. Some of you are only able to stay awake, and some of you haven't been able to. Some of you have only been able to stay awake today because your blood type is espresso. Like, if I could have the money you've spent this semester at 7 Brew and Starbucks and what else is there around here? Yeah. Starbucks. Oh yeah, 1810 coffee. I forgot about that. I just don't drink it a lot. I bring my own coffee to my office. If you could have that money, your school bill might be paid. Or close to it. So let's talk about this. Let's move to the next one because I want to finish here. I want to talk to you about how this impacts you academically. So when anxiety increases, success becomes harder. Okay? So I want you to see this problem here. I want you all to see this problem really clear. Like, if students are coming to our campus, I want to talk to you faculty here and staff. If students are coming to our campus with increased levels of anxiety, as statistics are telling us they are, then we must realize that it's going to be harder for these students to succeed and enjoy college life, because statistics tell us that the higher the anxiety level one experiences, the greater struggle they have in college life. Like things like academically. You might have a student come in your room and you say, they were not paying any attention to me. Well, I remember I got asked that question for one of my defenses in my PhD. They said, what if you have students in your class not paying attention? I said, well, I think the first thing I need to ask myself is, am I the problem? All right? Then I need to see what their problem is. Like, why are you not staying awake? Sometimes it's anxiety. Difficulty concentrating can be anxiety. That's one of the trademarks, one of the hallmark features of generalized anxiety is a difficulty concentrating. You're also going to see, probably with someone who has anxiety, you're going to see lower test performance. Behaviorally, you're probably going to see someone who's tired easy, someone who gets irritable more easy. You're going to see someone who withdraws from class participation more than most other students. They're just going to kind of step back, and you need to understand there's probably something behind that. And a good teacher, here I am just starting out in this field, but I'm just going to tell you what I've learned in my PhD work. Good teachers ask the right questions when that happens. They don't assume that the student doesn't like them or are trying just to skim by in their class. They're going to actually ask the right question, like, hey, what's going on? I notice you're disconnected. I know something seems to be bothering you. How can I help you succeed in my class? Right? You might see, if you're looking at fellow students, you might see someone who starts isolating themselves. If you're noticing a student is isolating themselves, if you want to be someone who's encouragement, reach out to them. You say, but they're odd, they're different. They don't want to talk to me when I talk to them. They probably do want to talk to you, but they're struggling with a high level of anxiety, and you might just try to keep building that relationship, because if you can break through that relationship and help that person who's isolating, you might save their life, literally. People will tend to be lonely when there's anxiety increasing. And here's something that we need to be alarmed with, at least administratively and faculty-wise. When high anxiety is there, there's also low satisfaction related to college life. The higher the anxiety a student has, the less they enjoy being on our campus. And that's a problem. Like, I'm hoping, Brother Matt, that every student that steps on our campus walks away from our campus when they're done and says, I loved GBS. Best place in the world. Man, I had a great time there. Every part of it was wonderful. They cared about me more than just getting my money. And I hope that you all feel that way. And if you don't, I don't know who to tell you to talk to. But I hope that you feel like, hey, the staff and faculty, the people here care about me more than just my money and more about grades and more about a degree. They care about who I am as an individual, not just someone who's going to go out and make a difference in the world. They care about me right now, where I'm at. Oh, I pray that God would help us to, as faculty and staff, to produce an atmosphere, hear me, produce an atmosphere for our students that you all would feel, hey, you're more than a number. You're more than just another student in our classroom. You're of great importance. We need you. We don't need you because we need numbers. We need you because God needs you. And we care about you. At least I do. And I think I can speak for all of us, we do. We care about you. And I personally care with this thought that some of you are walking around this campus struggling with an inner battle that you're consistently fighting, and you're putting on a smile on your face. When people ask you how you're doing, you're saying, I'm okay, but inside you're not. I care about that. That's why I'm here, actually. That's the only reason why I'm here, is that reason. Listen, I imagine there's been times that some of you have already avoided going to class this semester because of anxiety. I won't have you raise your hand, but you know what I'm talking about. You skipped class because you knew there was going to be a discussion and you didn't feel like you were smart enough to add anything to it, so it was just easier for you to miss class. You stepped back from conversations with your friends because you struggle sometimes saying words. You stutter or say things backwards or get really anxious up in front of people. That anxiety has impacted you and is impacting you. Let's go to the next slide. That's the conclusion. But hold on. Anxiety is not just a personal battle when you're on this campus. I'd like to see it as a community battle. I'd like to see it as an opportunity where we, faculty, staff, can come alongside you and say, how can we help you? How can we walk with you? How can we help you to recognize that you don't have to be stuck here with these feelings and these sensations? How can we pray for you? How can we care for you? What can we provide for you, right? How can we encourage you? How can we help you feel like you belong? Because you do. You do. Now listen, I'm going to shut this thing and be done for my part for this week. That was not an alarm, that was another phone call. It says time to end. I know this morning that in this crowd, if there's 100 people in here on each side, there's 20 of you over here that are struggling with this every single day. And there's 40 of you over here that are struggling with this every single day. If you think you're alone, you're really not. Have conversations with the right people. There are faculty, there are staff, there are RAs, there are deans, there are counselors on this campus for reasons. such as that. We'd like to talk to you. We'd like to walk with you. We would like to help you. So that would mean if there's 100 on each side, there's 60 of you in here. There's no way that Dr. Frazier and I can meet with all 60 of you. There's just no way. That means if you're in here and you're faculty and staff or you're an RA, we need your help. Will you help us? Will you reach out to the one who's isolating? Will you reach out, faculty, to the one who's struggling in your classroom, who seems like they're not willing to participate, and find out why? Try to come alongside them and walk with them and help them through this time of life. And they, if you will, in due time, they will honor and cherish you for a lifetime because you stood with them in a moment when they needed. Will you rise to the challenge? I'd ask faculty, staff, RAs, will you rise to this challenge? Will you be there to help, listen, and care, and love? That itself can reduce the level amongst our student body, and we need to do it. Come back Wednesday, because I've just pointed out the issue, right? I just pointed out the issue. Dr. Frazier's going to come on Wednesday, Lord willing, and she's going to provide you, we've talked about this, she's going to provide you some awesome tools that I'm excited to hear about that you will be able to use. Also, like if you have questions, like I'm not asking all of you to come talk to me because I won't be able to do that. But if you have questions, write them down because we're going to be sending out a link sometime today, I think, that you can put those questions in. And we're going to have on Friday a number of counselors across the front here that are going to answer questions that you might have related to anxiety or things you might want to ask about mental health. And we were hoping to give you something that you will enjoy on Friday that will help you with some of the questions. What I like about this is you can ask the question without your name attached. So just ask the questions. Let's pray. Lord.
We're glad you joined us. God's Bible School and College prepares students for lives of ministry wherever God calls them. This content is possible because of the generous support of friends like you. To support GBSC, visit giving.gbs.edu. Thank you.